and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Wednesday. It's July the 23rd, 2022. I'm joined by Tim via Skype. Glad to have you with us tonight. Let me cue this music a little bit. I got this weird thing going on where I can't hear anything that I play through the streaming program in my ears. So I couldn't play the intro song, couldn't hear it, couldn't play our little G minor tune there. So I can't hear what's going on, so I don't know if you can hear me over. So I'm turning it down. Appreciate you joining us. If it's your first time with us, what we do here on Wednesday nights is we do news and current events roundup. It can be national, it can be local, whatever is in the news that day. And then on the weekends, on Sundays at 10 p.m., we do a show topic and discussion about it. And this weekend, I think we're in light of what we did last week, I think we're going to go ahead and hit the Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. I'm looking forward big time to getting into the Federal Reserve talk. But I think with everything going on in the world, and the effects of Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 or 2030 being seen worldwide, and we talked about a lot of those last night. We did it Sunday, and then we had to redo the episode where it got pulled. But we talked about it last night, and I think it's important to get into those concepts and what exactly they mean and how they are causing untold trauma to unfold on the world and chaos. If you are in the chat, give us a holler. Let us know what you think about some of these stories. Going to kick us right off. I'm going to hit a local story. I just found out about this. Tim let me know right before we started. Hadn't checked the local news lately, but we've got a terrible flood up in Buchanan County, or Buchanan County is how I think they usually say it, in Virginia. We got Sheriff's Office says 44 still unaccounted for in Buchanan County floods. 100 plus homes affected. This is from WJHL. Say that flood waters inundated parts of the county overnight. The Buchanan County Sheriff's Office says there are still at least 44 people who remain unaccounted for. No fatalities have been reported as of Wednesday evening. The Sheriff's Office said it is making progress in locating those unaccounted for. A person is considered unaccounted for when family members have been unable to contact them. While officials are still surveying the damage, around 100 to 150 residences have been flooded or washed away, according to the Sheriff's Office. And apparently there was the water started rising Tuesday night, and overnight into the morning it became apparent, and the Virginia Department of Emergency Management was contacted to assist. I've got some images of this flooding here. If you're in our area, well, I did have some images of the flooding. But yeah, this is pretty close to us here, just a couple hours away here in Buchanan County, and
Let's see that.
What's it?
I hear like water, but I don't see anything.
Oh, you hear something?
Maybe I'm just hearing like air conditioner or something.
Oh, probably so.
It sounded like a picture of running water, but there was no video or something.
No,
I must be here at the AC.
I had I think my AC is on right now. I had a thing picked up here, like a photo gallery of some of the damage caused by it, and it's disappeared on me. Let's see if I can find it right quick.
Chef was reading the story. What the cause is? I know that sounds naive, but maybe it just didn't sound like it rained enough down here. You know?
No, I didn't see. Let's look right here at some of these.
I guess the obvious answer would be it rained a whole lot more there than it did here, and it was just surprising when I found out it flooded somewhere. It just didn't sound like it rained that much.
Yeah.
You know?
Going down.
How far away is? I'm not going to be able to call it Buchanan. I'm going to have to call it Buchanan. How far away is Buchanan County?
I think it's just a couple hours away, a couple hours to the north of us. Let's see. Let me pull it up here. I mean, they're close enough that we hear about them on local news all the time, and we hear about their high school sports on our local news. Let's see. Let's get a map up here. It is not giving me much help here. It's in Western Virginia. I pull it up, and then it doesn't show the counties. It only shows the towns, so... Western Virginia here, somewhere around here.
I see Honaker. I know where Honaker is. Something else I know of. Can you back just a little bit further up? Oh, there's Dante. I know they say that's Dante, but that's the locals call that. I'm pointing out my screen like you can see from here. It is. If you go down towards the bottom of the screen, well, the map's gone. Never mind.
No, I pulled it back up.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. If you look at the map, you'll see a little town. It says Dante, at the bottom of the screen, but it's actually the locals there call it Daint.
You hit directions.
And there's Abingdon. All right, so it's about probably 2 hours away from us. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not far. Definitely a big deal there. We hope everybody's all right, and we don't have any confirmed fatalities yet, so hopefully we won't have any. Hopefully they'll figure everything out.
Hell, dude.
Find out where everybody is.
Dude, that's great.
What's that?
Dude, that's great. I didn't realize that. That's Grundy.
Oh, okay.
That's way closer than I thought it was.
Well, I can't pull these photos at full screen. For some reason, they put a photo gallery up here that you can't pull full screen. But you can see there's been a lot of damage. There's a whole house. Looks like it's gone there. You got a truck crashed, or, into the side of a house. You got river, just vehicles. Let's look at this flooding drone video here that somebody sent. Oh, of course, we got an ad here.
Oh, let's see what they're advertising first.
No, it's not. All right, this is from Adyen. Or no, I guess that's the ad.
Yeah, how far? I definitely know where.
Here we go. 41 seconds of Buchanan County flooding. That's pretty massive floods. Well, I hope they find everybody.
If you look at, I know me explaining this doesn't really help the situation or anything, maybe, but like, I guess it's just always really surprised me where some people choose to set up camp.
Yeah.
If you look at that video, it's still playing on my monitor.
Yeah, I just took it down.
I can still watch it. No, I'm like an 8-second delay on the side. You could look at the sides, and it's like they live in like an obvious valley, and so I mean, like, how do you prevent that from happening again? Because at some point in time, that if that can happen one time, that's going to happen like ever so often, where it's just going to rain so much, and the valley's just going to catch a lot of your. Like, I remember I grew up Stony Creek, and at least once a year, it would rain so much that the branches would run over the side of the interstate or the highway, and it would run into Stony Creek because the drains weren't big enough. Until over the years they eventually widened them and kept widening them until no matter how much it would do, it finally get across. And even to this day, if it rains enough, it'll still go across the highway. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, we incrementalize things like on threats. And it's like, if you know that it can flood like that, it seems like you should start maybe digging some trenches. I'm not saying building
some levees and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, how long before you get like? Did you remember the Roan Mountain flood back in like what was it, 99 or something?
Oh yeah,
like that?
The one that actually was Hampton, and they it killed a few people, didn't it?
Yeah, certainly did. Yeah. What caused it was just I guess like real like stark weather. It snowed. You know how Roan Mountain is. Anybody knows Roan Mountain out here. When it snows up there, it can snow feet, and you have barely even anything down here. There came a hell of a snow up on Roan Mountain. And then a very warm front came in literally the next day and just dumped like 6 inches of rain on top of all that snow. All that snow melted, and all at once you just had this giant wall of water. And but if you look at it like almost like, was it topography, a top view,
Topographically.
You can see you can see periodically how far the water comes up all along here. And I look at houses every now and then, and I'm like, man, it's only a matter of time before some of these houses get some real water.
Yeah. Looks like.
I don't know what this stuck out to it. They live in it's like they live in a floodplain,
Yeah, I guess it's either that or build on top of the mountain. I mean, you got to, pick your poison, I guess. If we got flooding in Gatlinburg too. It forced over 400 evacuations from a campground there in Sevier County in Tennessee. That's just to the southwest of us here. And they had 8.5 inches of rain between 8 and 10 p.m. Jeez Louise. So they got all kinds of debris and vehicles down there, washed downstream in the Little Pigeon River. Hey, I want to talk about, in one of our local segments, I want to talk about Juan Pardo and the Little Pigeon River sometime. Do what?
Okay. I said, so we got flooding in Grundy and Gatlinburg.
Big flooding day.
I'm assuming the Grundy one is worse since more people are talking about it.
I mean, I really don't know. I don't have a lot of photos from this one. I just have reports. Here's one photo from of a vehicle washed away in the river. And let's see what else we got. They've got at least got these photos where we can see them in Gatlinburg. Ruined.
Dalton's in the chat. Apparently, he had some power outages.
You're in PA, aren't you, Dalton? Oops. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, so it looks like I had a lot of crazy weather over on the eastern half of the country. A lot of big trucks floating away. A lot of vehicles. Look at all that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really washed that stuff up over the bridge, tearing the bridge apart, washed a camper away. So yeah, Mother Nature's nothing to mess with, man. We got, you know, we can't control it on a large scale. We can mitigate it on a small scale, and I think we need to focus a lot more on that and stuff like instead of trying to, you know, instead of trying to control the climate of the world, let's have each individual area work on, you know, using what means we have to protect our local areas, you know, levees and stuff like that. Even if you had to use federal or state money to do these things, that should be something that should take precedence over stopping the planet from heating up in 100 years, or from, you know, the sea level from rising an inch in 100 years, stuff like that. So,
have you ever been to New Orleans?
No.
I've been a couple of times. That's not a brag. That's not really a place that I really find entertaining. But a lot of cruise ships go out to that area, and I swear it would blow people's brains if they would just go take a cruise out of New Orleans. If you just feel like having this experience, man, when they pull out and you look back on the city that you're pulling out of, normally it's not a crazy situation. You're leaving a city, but then you're looking down, and I swear these levees don't look. You just have to look up pictures sometime what the New Orleans levees actually look like. They don't look like it's almost comical. It looks like something out of Fallout, like they just put a bunch of shit up in the water. I swear to God, the water is over top. It's higher than the city. I didn't understand what they did when the city was below sea level until you get on a cruise ship and you look over and you're like, oh, they're literally like using plywood and concrete to keep the ocean from taking hundreds or thousands of feet of city just over. That just blows my mind every time I think about that.
Vacant Josh says that it only cost him $12 to go to New Orleans.
You got Vacant Josh in the chat now.
Only cost you $12 to go to New Orleans, huh?
Well,
there's no lady boys there though, are there, Tim? At least not like for the $1.50 Thailand trip.
Are you assuming there's no trannies out in that?
I said at least not to the degree that you find in Thailand. If you want the lady boys, you know, cheap, that's a better option for you. Sure. Dalton says, I've heard that Native Americans in certain western states were nomadic. They were prepared to move in case of a wildfire, unlike people now building homes they can't afford to lose. Yeah, that's true. And a lot of those tribes, they also, it's been mentioned. Well, it was a few years ago now when we had all the California fires out there. The natives used to burn the forests out there, you know, controlled burns to get rid of old timber and brush and stuff like that and stop it from spreading. Yeah, and so
they do that. They do that now out there because if they don't, one lightning strike will take out like 100,000 acres.
Well, you know,
so like across places they make these giant bonfires and they just systematically burn them throughout the year. It was because like around here, I think our wildfires, and I'd say, I guess Dalton could weigh in on this too because he lives pretty close to us in the same range. We get about a mountain fire every year, but it's like thousands of acres versus out west where it's like just god awful amounts of stuff burns because it's so much drier, and that's why we don't gather that because it's so dang thick. It really doesn't do as much damage as people.
Yeah, we get a few, you know, 1 to 3 or something like that a year. I remember when they were burning out there really bad a few years ago. Remember had that crazy stuff of like you would see a car completely melted and then be a tree right next to it out there in California, and people were saying that somebody's using direct energy weapons to burn it and stuff like that. I mean, people had all kinds of theories, but it never did make sense to me how you could have a street of cars that were melted, I mean, liquid molten steel there, and a tree sitting right next to it without even being brown, still green on the tree. That's
Paradise, California.
Yeah, the Paradise Fire. Yeah,
that happened. The the same people, because I don't really subscribe to direct energy weapons. I just know a little bit about it.
I don't know enough about it to discern.
They said that. Me either. But the fact that you can go look them up right now, like they really do exist. So it's like these like big laser heads that they mount on the side of like there's pictures of.
Well, I know they exist. I just don't know how. I wouldn't know how to know if that was what they did out there.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference is like I've obviously never been to Paradise. You know what I'm saying? But there are also people who want to say the Gatlinburg fires were also direct energy weapons. But I was here. You remember how it was windy as shit, dude? And that's what was the big problem. They were saying that people were saying it's direct energy weapons. That's one of those conspiracies I can say, well, if they used it to start it, maybe. But the theory on why the why they know why the Gatlinburg fires were so bad is because it was like 60-mile-an-hour winds on a really hot day. It was already blowing pre-existing fires. It was basically like a flamethrower. So, I mean, if anybody in the direct energy weapon world out there wants to put Gatlinburg in the direct energy weapon sort of false flags, I don't think that's a real one. I think Mother Nature really just kind of kicked Dolly Parton's butt.
Yeah, well, I didn't see anything with that one that was curious like that. I mean, it makes sense. But the Paradise one, I mean, not just a couple of photos of that, but you saw lots and lots of photos of cars literally melted. Hey, Spill the Tea. Glad to have you in here. She says turned on notifications. Didn't get one. Imagine that. Hey, Spill the Tea. I looked on your channel and you got a video on nose breathing versus mouth breathing that I watched, and I've been trying so hard. When I come down here in the basement, sometimes my sinuses just get all screwed up, and I have a hard time breathing on my nose. I was like, dude, I sound like a mouth breather. I got to work on that. But yeah, you're right. Nose breathing's important.
We got back here, so Spill the Tea. Forgive us if we're mouth breathing. The pollen here in Tennessee is insane. But Afrin is your best friend, Cliff. Afrin. Dude, I'm one of these idiots, and I say that, but because I do. I just don't like medicine. I just won't take it. And then when I finally get convinced to try a new medicine that's been out for 500 years at the ripe old age of too old to be finding new medicines, dude, I only started using Afrin last year. It's completely changed my life because it's like for an entire month at a time, I just can't breathe out of my nose and I feel like killing myself. You literally just go get a thing called Afrin, stick it up your nose, squirt it one time, and you can breathe.
Maybe I'll try that. I've got Flonase and.
So like a real hayseed right now to anybody listening that's not from Carter County, but yes, I just discovered Afrin and it changed my life.
I've got Flonase, but I have to use it in the morning for it to work. It doesn't work right away. Spill the Tea says I was in the 2017 complex fire and it was weird. I'm not familiar with that one. Let me look that up.
You got anything on that one, Cliff? Yeah, look at one. I've been interested.
Yeah, Sonoma complex fire in 2017. Sonoma complex. Wow.
Any videos on it?
Yeah. I got a lot of data on it here. Okay. Here's an animation. Let's look at this real quick. So Spill the Tea, you lived through this. Let's check this out real quick. What was weird about it? Anything you could tell us that you can put in the chat concisely? There's a spread of the fire right there in 36 hours. Wow. That's a lot.
She says in the chat.
And it is wild how that kind of, can avoid damaging some structures while damaging others. But, I mean, sometimes that makes sense. You do have fire wind can make fires jump and do all kinds of crazy things. But I never saw a forest fire that burned hot enough to melt steel. Oh, that's a pretty big deal. Well, we're glad you're with us, Spill the Tea. You're in California, right? Currently, the sky was black and looked apocalyptic. No, I just can only look at one thing in one time. I have to pull down everything I'm looking at to be able to look at the chat. Yeah, I see here. We got trees untouched and cars melted. October in California, very rare. Yeah, that's strange. I'm with you. I use Neosephrine nasal spray, and it's changed my life, said Vacant Josh. Spill the Tea says the sky was black and looked apocalyptic. It was weird, and it wasn't as windy as they said it was where I was anyway. And Dalton says, I said earlier here in PA, forest fires are rare, and it's usually too humid. Yeah, we got a lot of humidity here, but somehow we managed to get 1, 2, 3 a few times a year just in our local area. Moved from Mendocino to Colusa County. Okay.
A lot of times it does turn out to be campers not putting their fires out, or multiple times it's been kids playing with fire, committing arson.
Yeah, that happens too.
But like I said, When it burns, a lot of times what happens is it burns all that dead stuff on
Yeah.
the ground, and then the trees get scorched, but they come right back because they're evergreens and
Yeah.
stuff, you know. Uh, I mean, I'm not saying it's not always very catastrophic, but I think the thing they thought that was weird about it in Gatlinburg is it really did some severe damage. And I think the conspiracy people were saying what was weird about it is it went right and skirted along the Dreamland Ranch that Dolly
Mm-hmm.
Parton has. Like it didn't. I mean,
They're like I'm sure Dolly's down there controlling the fire.
dude, one of these days you're going to come across the Dolly haters. They're growing in number. I'm just telling you what people are saying. She's going to be like our
Well,
Trump one of these days, where people
Unknown
just hate.
Henson was one of them, didn't he? Say he didn't need to hear from no big titted woman about Black Lives Matter or something.
No, so please don't clip this if you're going to can it on me, because this was like literally Unknown Henson's
Yeah.
demise or whatever. Because I think he's dead now. Maybe his wife died. I think he retired because his wife died, and he said it just wasn't fun anymore because she was kind of a big part of the touring and stuff. When she was coming out being pro-vaccine and stuff. No, I'm pretty sure maybe it was even BLM.
He's still
he was
alive.
talking
Yeah, it
about,
was
but I don't really
BLM
matter.
when he got in trouble.
Yeah, his quote, and don't quote me, this is Unknown Henson. He said, "Fuck that bitch, Dolly Parton."
No,
that was
was
his
it?
quote. It was met with so much rage that he apologized, and I was
Wow.
like, "Whoa!"
You get Unknown Henson to apologize. They must have really got mad at him.
Squid Billy
Yeah.
Dracula is scared. Yeah, but he's not one of the he's not alone now. There's a growing number of people that are anti-Dolly, but it was really the Moderna connection that ended up doing it, which is really crazy in my opinion, because a lot of the conspiracy people are willing to like bend on some things and not on others. And it's like, she's been in Hollywood this whole time. If she's gonna be suspicious, she should have been suspicious a long time ago.
Well, I saw that video you talked about where I remember the video where she's like, even I'm smart enough to know, as you know, implying that you're a hillbilly and you're too damn dumb, and that's the reason you haven't got your shot yet. Which there's a lot of new news coming out on those shots, especially data out of the UK. I can't get into it on YouTube without getting called for medical misinformation, but I'm telling you, look up UK's health data on the shots. Some distressing news there, but Dalton says a spoonful of horseradish will clear your sinuses for a bit. Yeah, I like wasabi for that. You eat some sushi with some wasabi and lots of ginger, and that clears me right up. Spill the Tea says too many fires there, dead trees everywhere. And people were giving Trump shit for saying, well, what they need is better forest management. They need to do controlled burns and rake the brush, and that ended up being, you know, what they did. They had a problem where they had stopped those programs, and after that big fire in Paradise, they ended up putting that back in. But people were, I mean, the left was making Trump memes and stuff where, you know, he's out there raking with a fire and saying how stupid he was. Hey, you gotta rake the forest. You gotta rake the forest floor. Like, you know, that's actually what they do.
Yeah, they actually rake it all into big piles and can do controlled burn.
Are you guys on Rumble? Less censorship. I got a Rumble account, but like I said, we're not pulling any revenue from this, and I've got kind of a bit of a money tied up in doing it right now, so I'm just on YouTube. But we're looking at, you know, spending probably about $100 a month to get it on multiple platforms. I got to get a machine, a different machine capable of doing it, and I've also got to get higher internet speed, and then I'm going to have to pay for a premium version of this program that I use to stream. So I'm not able to doing that right now, but I would like to go to Rumble and Twitch and Odyssey. I have accounts set up on there, just not able to do that just right now. So speaking of which, we do have some stickers for y'all. If anybody wants a sticker, you can email us at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com. I'm trying to get a good. It's hard to focus it there. The camera doesn't want to focus. But it's the same as the background up here. I'll send you a couple of them in the mail for $5 if you want one. Email me at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com, or you can. Let's see. I put in the comment after the video where you can.
One of these things you could probably do is go ahead and set you up like a Venmo or a Cash App.
I got a PayPal, but I don't want to put it in here, so I'll set up another one for that.
Just do either the Venmo or the Cash App. It's the quickest way. That's what everybody's using. And I don't know. I think it would be easier. Like I don't know. I've had a lot fewer people using PayPal unless it's for like a eBay or a legitimate business transaction. A lot of these other like smaller ones, people are
Okay.
doing
So for
Venmo
right
for.
now, we'll do you. For right now, you email me.
Preference.
I'll send you my PayPal address. I don't want to. I don't want to just stick that in the comments on the video right now. But I'll do that. If you want to, if you want a sticker, email me and I'll send you the PayPal and you can send it to me that way. I'll give you 2 of them for $5 shipped, and that's, you know, that lets us stack a little revenue that we can reinvest in the program. You know, Tim and I aren't trying to get rich off this thing, but I'm also not trying to go too deep in my own pocket at the time being. But if we can make the program sustain itself, that would be nice. So, yeah, we do like to get on Rumble. Like I said, I've got accounts set up. We'll get there eventually. But it's a learning process. One, yeah, I've never done anything like this. I've been a musician before, but that's as far as doing anything in front of people publicly. This is the only thing like this. I've never really done presentations or anything, and don't have a lot of experience with video or audio or anything like that. So I'm just trying to learn on the fly, and I am learning. But all the next steps to take seem to involve more money, so I just haven't done those yet. But let's get into. We got some. I mean, we try to keep this show lighthearted a lot, but it's pretty hard with some of the stuff that we're getting in the news today. I'm going to show you this this video from Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. It's pretty awful to watch. I'm gonna hit the. I'm gonna turn on the desktop audio here so you can hear. So sorry if you get an echo from Tim. No, I don't really know how to do that. Well, the video is only about a minute long. It's shortened, but this is the video that's been released from inside Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and it's pretty bad stuff. But I want to show it to you real quick. It's important. You see the gunman entering the school. And you see that the sound of children screaming has been removed. Man, I'm glad they did. I don't know if I could have handled that, but let's keep watching. Three minutes later, police enter the school. 3 minutes later. He's been shooting the whole time. You got the guys running down towards the classroom. Here comes a gunshot, and look what they do. They bolt. What the hell are you doing there? 19 minutes later, still more gunshots. They've got ballistic shields. They've got 3 guys with rifles standing there. What are they waiting on him to just come out of the classroom? Standing there. And as we know, he went on. I mean, he went on to kill like 20 some people, teachers and children. One of the officers who actually tried to go in and do something, he was held back and his gun was taken away, and his wife, and I don't know if I think his child was killed too in the attack, and the police did nothing but, I mean, they helped this guy commit mass murder. They were right there, and not only did they not go in, they stopped parents from going in. They stopped other police from going in. They stopped armed citizens from going in. Josh says they run like hell. And Border Patrol finally comes in and breaches. Finally, yeah. Now, word was that the Border Patrol agent that was in the area, he chased the guy down. He went after him and was stopped by police initially, and I think he had to get he borrowed a shotgun from his barber. It's definitely sketchy. This happened in Florida too, yeah. But this is the first time I can remember that we've had video like this. I mean, this damning. I mean, the Florida situation in Parkland was bad too, and you did have that security guard who didn't do anything. But this, you got a whole squad of cops there, and they're not doing anything. What are they doing? What, I mean, I mean, I get so mad about this. Maria D, thank you for joining us as a total clown show. It's I can't imagine. I'm getting chills. My skin is crawling right now thinking about in the situation right there. Dude, these guys were armed with body armor. Let me show you this. This is from Facebook from 2018 from the Uvalde Police Department. The Uvalde Police Department is pleased to announce that we have completed the process and been awarded grant funds through the Office of the Governor to outfit every Uvalde police officer with level 4 body armor. This important piece of legislation provided funding to equip police officers with body armor rated to stop rifle rounds. $23 million in rifle resistant body armor grounds. I just get Blue Lives Matter. Fuck you. I'm sorry. I mean, there's good cops out there, but, and I'm sorry for my language, Kyle, but I just get tore up about this. I cannot imagine being in a situation where you have somebody, even if they didn't know children were being murdered, you know there is a guy in a classroom who's firing off a gun and you run away. If you know what, if it weren't for the government, who would stop you from saving children from a mass murderer? I get so heated on this, Skull. I'm sorry. I don't know. I know a lot of people. Okay, I don't know a lot of cops. I know a couple. The guys I know are old school. I know they wouldn't have stood around and let this happen. Now, I can't think of anybody I know who wouldn't have. I mean, you got a fight or flight instinct as a human being, right? And some people do tend towards flight. But when kids are involved, it's instinct to jump in and save those children. Dalton says they let it happen. Yeah, they did. They not only let it happen, they aided it and abetted it. These guys, murder charges is too good for these guys. I'm sorry. Accessory, whatever it is. So let me get on to another thing here because I'm getting too worked up. But this is from Sour Patch Lids. She's Tim Pool's producer. And she's got a really good take right here on this. Let me read this off to you. They needed Uvalde to prove it happens in red states. They needed Highland Park to prove that the current measures aren't enough. This is happening now to push gun control to the forefront for the upcoming midterm train wreck. Change my mind, Impossible Edition. Lydia says, I thought this all the way back during Uvalde. The feds know all these young men. Now here's another one. Lydia here, she writes Lydia Letterman at Substack.com. She wrote an article about the dark undercurrents and it may have influenced Buffalo and Uvalde and some of the coincidences like the feds have known all these young men and all these shootings. They've been on the radar of police, federal agents. Buffalo, the guy was talking to a retired federal agent on the regular basis. The feds know all these young men. They do nothing. Why not? Do they want this to happen? Because they sure are allowing it. This is not the behavior of a police department with nothing to hide. The officer of the slain Uvalde teacher was detained and had his gun taken away. Uvalde, Sour Patch Lid says this is not normal. Uvalde mother who got out of cuffs to rescue kids from shooting is now being harassed by law enforcement. And she's reporting that they are waiting outside her house, driving by all hours of the night, revving engines, shining lights on her, harassing her. After she had the nerve to go in there and save her children when they were stopping everybody else, they handcuffed this woman. And she went in and I forget who it was that let her go. I think it was the Uvalde cops who actually let her go. But one of the other law enforcement agencies there was the one that actually handcuffed her, and then the Uvalde cops just let her go. She went in. She went right to the first, apparently, we get hearing a couple conflicting reports, but she went to one of her kids' classrooms, got him out the window, and then went and got her other kid, and the cops were trying to get her to leave while she was in the school. Spill the Tea says, standing around. Maria says, sleepers, just not sure. Wrong context. No, I mean, it could be...
Hey, you're missing.
Oh, I am? Okay, let me open up YouTube because this OBS app is not giving me all the chats. Sorry about that, y'all.
You missed.
Missing context indeed.
Yeah, I don't know why your OBS app misses a lot of them apparently.
Let me get over here into the...
Or puts them out of order. It's weird.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I'm missing a lot here. So let's get it right here. He was 18 or 19 and somehow afforded guns worth thousands of dollars plus hundreds of rounds of ammo. Yeah, dude, that Daniel Defense rifle he got was like $2,500. I think he worked at Wendy's. I mean, I guess he could have got a credit card or something, but it is awful great. I mean, if you're living at mom and working with at Wendy's and you get a credit card, I guess that's possible, but it's still suspicious for him to. Apparently, he bought the gun before he turned 18 and then like went and picked it up right after he turned 18, or maybe it was 21, whatever it was. He wasn't legal to buy it, but he went ahead and ordered it, and then he went to the gun shop like the day he was legal to order it. Maria says, this video makes me so ill. All the armor we pay for, and they stood around like a bunch of jerks. Yeah, Maria, I feel you. I mean, it just makes me, it makes you feel, I mean, angry's not even the word for it. Disgusted. I think my nose is starting to bleed. Because I can taste copper. Someone said it was to wake the sleepers, but I just don't know. Like Caltrans, roadwork guys. It's definitely political. And she says, what does that mean? Standing around. Sleepers, just not sure. Oh, sleepers. As if, people that they have waiting for these kind of things. I think that a large portion of our society is mentally ill and just maybe not even a direct trigger, or maybe that's not even like, hey, go shoot these guys or anything like that. But it's just, I think there's so much mental illness in our society, especially young men, that, don't, a lot of the cases don't have fathers and stuff. Dalton says, I'd run in there buck naked with one bullet in the chamber if I could save some kids, let alone have a bodyguard. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know everybody I know that I'm close to in my life would go in there with nothing. Even if you got shot, you're going to go in there. And not to mention, while they're standing there and he's shooting children, they could hear these kids screaming. They took it out of the video that we watched, but those officers could hear it. And they're holding it back, and you've got video of one of them putting on hand sanitizer. I don't know if that guy's a cop. He's not dressed like a cop. But then you got a guy standing there. It looks like he's changing his screensaver to the Punisher logo. Really? Well, what was the Punisher's name? Frank Grimes? That guy would have killed he would have killed the son of a bitch. He wouldn't have stood there. And no sane or I just don't understand. I don't care how many cops, how many officers told me not to go, they would have to tackle me and hold me down. And why is everybody not doing that? Why are they not rushing it? Something's up. Maria says, Maria says, yes, that's what I thought. I truly believe that. Why do I seek truth, but none of my friends do? I call them denialists. And she says, that's exactly what I said today, even without body armor. Yeah. And I'm not somebody who's like, I don't try to like brag about how tough I am or anything like that. And I don't think anybody that's saying this would, I mean, like I said, it's a natural instinct to protect children. What is wrong with you to let orders trump protect children? Y'all are worse. I'm telling you. Y'all, that's like some Nazi stuff right there. I was just following orders. Well, even though, they were gassing those people in those, in those rooms, I was the guard. It was my job. I was following orders to stand there. I didn't decide to do it. Well, you know what? No, not following orders is no excuse. Or just following orders is no excuse. For the Nazis, it's no excuse for these cops either. But the people who are in charge of that should be held to even higher standards. I'm telling you, I think they should be charged with murder. Or at least accomplice to it. I don't know about the legal stuff to it, but
if they get charged or anything, I mean, even if they did, I think what you give them, like criminal neglect, manslaughter.
I would call them accomplice because they stopped people from saving the children. That's accomplice to murder. There were people there who were armed, who were going to save these children. There were people there who were not armed, who were going to go in there and try to do their best, and they stopped them. That's not just neglect. They actively impeded people from saving these children, including their own officers.
Well, as I'm a lawyer, I'm going to have to tell you that I'm correct.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah. I just don't want you in legal trouble. I mean, mass shooter see from prison for libel.
Let's continue with Sour Patch Lid's thread here. She says, I told you, and she shares a New York Post article about how Harris uses Highland Park shooting to push weapon ban in Chicago. They got a total weapon ban. Lydia's making the point that they're trying to say neither one of these is going to be enough, so the only thing we can do is total weapon ban. Where'd the rest of this thread go? Here we go. See, they split it up so you can't, for some reason, include her replies. She said, this person says, Tier says it was all set up by the feds. And Sour Patch Lid says, one commonality between all these shootings, known to the feds, possibly communicated with them. The feds do nothing. What are we to conclude? What indeed? She says they at least knew what these guys were up to and let them do their thing. I guess they even gave them SSRIs and encouraged them, but that's just me. And yeah, all of them tend to be on some sort of psychotropic drugs. Most of them in SSRI, serotonin reuptake inhibitor, like Prozac, Paxil, Zoloft, those kind of things. Antidepressants. And then you got other things, like Joda here says, or they set the kid up, get all the evidence to point to him, have a skilled marksman pull the trigger, catch, interrogate, brainwash the kid, rinse and repeat in 6 weeks in another brainwash. Now, rinse and repeat in 6 weeks in another zip code. Now, I don't know that that's what happened. I think you got insane people who they get to do these things, or maybe they not even get to do them. But it's like when the FBI catches terrorists. You know what they usually do? They usually find a group of people, and that maybe who are. Like, let's take the Michigan plot with Gretchen Whitmer, for example. You had a group of kind of, I don't know even what you'd call them, but they were kind of like anti-government people, but most of them were mentally ill. And the FBI comes in and sets up this whole scheme that they're going to go kidnap the governor, and they arrest everybody, and then it turns out there was like 21 people in the group, and like 13 of them were feds, and they started the whole idea. Maria says, I knew this was coming, and Spill the Tea says mind control. Yeah, and I don't know if it's like direct mind control or if it's like, I think we're on to something different now. We're on like mass psychosis. We talked about mass formation psychosis before in another episode, and it was funny, like right after we talked about it, that guy was on Joe Rogan talking about mass formation psychosis, and then all these mass formation psychosis information videos got pulled and deleted. Somehow ours saved it, so if you want to go back and look, you can see we were in before Joe Rogan on it. But mass formation psychosis is basically mass hysteria. When you get people ready to burn witches and things like this, I think it's on a little bit of different level here, where discontent is spread throughout society with political messaging, with art, with advertisement, with corporate marketing. It comes from all different ways, and then you have the media right here hyping this stuff up. When somebody does this, they start delving into his past, and they start reading his manifesto. They start showing his name and his picture on the television, and everybody starts talking about him. You had guys like Harrison Klebold back in Columbine. They made those guys into anti-heroes. There were a lot of kids that started wearing trench coats and calling themselves a trench coat mafia. And the media, of course, you got to cover the story. You can't ignore it. But at the same time, you spend so much time focusing on these people's backgrounds. I know that's what they're interested in, but at the same time, you got to do it in a less sensational way, something. But I think all these things combine, and then you have somebody with mental illness, no father figure in particular in a lot of these, and then you have a system that's set up to help them, that lets them slip through the cracks. Psychiatrists, a lot of them actually were like, they were under the care of psychiatrists. The guy in Parkland, didn't he escape a mental hospital, or maybe that was the one in Texas? Somebody, he escaped like an Air Force mental hospital. I mean, there's all kinds of warnings for all these things. It's hard to keep up with them because they're all so similar. Dalton says, I'm only 22 and there's something wrong with most people my age. I get along better with people older than me. I mean, Dalton, I think there's a lot of people in your generation who feel the same way as you. I actually know quite a few of them, but like, they're all the people who are in the working world. People I meet who are young and who are out there working and earning a living and trying to be responsible for themselves. They feel the same way too.
I don't think it's generational. I think
that happens with every generation. You're right.
I think like I think every single generation has people that do things correctly, and then you have degenerates, and then you have people that just kind of ride the line. And then we look at the next generation behind us, and because we don't understand their particular brand of degeneracy, we think that they're somehow worse than ours. Man, millennials are just as big of a shit show as Generation Z is. I don't know what people are like. Do you remember when we were kids? And I was just right in there with it. I can't even pretend like I wasn't in it. Like our version of the '80s hair metal sort of thing was for all of us to get together, dye our hair black, wear eyeliners, wear skinny jeans, and get in like a big rock band and like sing songs about how bad our childhood was and cry together. Like we've all been fucked up for a really long time. That's like the lamest way to have a good time. We're all going to get together and not even be gothic or metal, be emo. We're all just going to get together and cry. Like I almost felt like a lot of my like early music part, like it's pretty cringe when I look at how much of the emo part is in there because it's all based on defeatism. You know, it's like things suck and there's nothing we're going to do about it. And if I don't want to do it from the Zoom or Skype call or whatever we're doing, but I have a lot of experience with those drugs. And I can tell you, I can give you firsthand knowledge about what exactly is going through these kids' heads. Because an SSRI is not it's not an antidepressant. It's more along the lines of an antipsychotic. And people think
but they're used as antidepressants.
Yes, right. But they shouldn't be, because they classify an SSRI as the same drug as like they'll give you like Vistaril for anxiety, right? Vistaril is an antihistamine. That's the same thing as like Benadryl. So their classification for what they should be giving you for something, the drug can be so wildly in a different class. And serotonin is not happiness. They keep calling serotonin and dopamine happiness like they're the same thing. Serotonin is awareness. Like in order for like melatonin is sleep. Serotonin is aware. Like there's other chemicals involved. You can't just give somebody. That's like giving somebody loads of caffeine and expecting them to be happier. It's just energy. And when you start giving somebody serotonin nonstop and their brain starts down regulating, starts cutting receptors right and left off because they've got so much receptors, your brain starts reacting to that. And if you're just flooded with awareness all the time, and those receptors, like, because it stops culling to a certain level, and your brain's just full of serotonin, and you've only got a couple little measly receptors left, man, it puts your brain in what they call a hyper-aware, a hyper-aware state of reality where everything is very vivid, but at the same time, it almost feels like an inconsequential game. And I mean, I can do that another time because I feel like, I don't even know what the crowd's thinking right now because we've been talking about school shooters for a minute, and I feel like it's a really heavy subject, but like, there's a reason these kids are doing this, and it's not just the drugs, it is the home life and all that stuff, but I tell you that the drugs do something
and
different.
They do say on the inserts of these packages that they may cause suicidal or homicidal thoughts, and contact your doctor, and these people apparently are contacting their doctor, and they're keeping them on them. And well, you bring that up, Tim, and I wasn't going to do this thread, but I think I'll need to get off of the school shooting thing for a minute, and I think this is a really good thread based on what you just said about the emo stuff. Let me find the thread where the heck did it go? It's not showing up on my computer, so I just have to read it to you, even though I had it on here, and it's because it's in my, I see why. I accidentally unliked it on Twitter. So let me refresh this here so we can show it on the screen. But this is just a little food for thought, and it's kind of interesting based on what Tim was just saying. We got the Skull King here. It says, take a trip with me. The year is 2000. Life seems quite simple. The internet is still new. MTV is still mostly good. I would beg to differ with that. That was in the TRL days. And people are mostly normal, with one exception. There are wiggers everywhere. This cultural oddity of white guys who chose to express themselves personally by pretending that they're black or Hispanic gangbangers is pervasive. Each one is stereotyping to himself. Clothing is bright and audacious. Language ridiculous. They aren't a majority, but there's enough of them that you see at least one or two every day. Sometimes you have to interact with them. Typically, you just engage enough to remain cordial or professional. No matter what they're confronted with, their visage of their act never breaks. Faced with danger, existential threats, or violence, they continue their charade, seemingly emboldened by the fact that for the most part, people just go along with them. Occasionally, they use the N-word to mixed reaction, but surprisingly, it's not as bad as you would think as often as you think. They just kind of get away with it. It's allowed as almost kind of a head nod to both their dedication and their ridiculousness. In the 3 years, the movie Malibu's Most Wanted will come out, making the zenith of the trend, and from there it will decline and then fade into memory as those people realize that maybe it was a little silly and they grow up and move on. Now imagine that this cultural oddity of a peculiar area wasn't allowed to exist as its own facet in society. Imagine we treated them as a protected class, being told officially, federally, that we must respect their identity. Imagine doctors are told that they're allowed to select African American on forms, and you must tell them that no, they don't have sickle cell. Imagine the MVA is told, the motor vehicles, I guess, that they are allowed to tick the box for African American despite having blue eyes, blonde hair, and light skin. Imagine that we were told, despite the fact that all their behavior is characterized stereotypes that caricaturize stereotypes that are at the end of the day nothing short of egregiously offensive, that we can never say anything about it because that's who they say they are. Now, because it's protected status, the trend is shifting. Instead of an identity that belongs to the people bold enough to do it, it's become a catch-all for the exact opposite. Disenfranchised, overlooked kids too meek to form their own distinctive identity latch on. As the trend grows, businesses now lean in because there's a whole new consumer base. Marketing products and clothing and brands specifically to Wiggers is not only profitable, it allows you to signal inclusivity. Simultaneously, black Americans are showing increased levels of rage at the fact that their identity has been co-opted, bastardized, and turned into what is effectively a racist cartoon character. Even worse, black Americans are now told that they can't use the term black because it excludes the Wiggers. Now, imagine we use a catch-all term of rap music Americans because it's generally a common thread shared by both the naturally black and the trans black. Having their identity stripped away and boiled down to one facet that not even all of them share, black Americans become even more angry. But now they're being told that nothing else matters. They can either play along or be labeled Wigger-phobic. Now, there are no more respectable businesses left. Every place you go, right up in front in a very visible position, there's a white guy with a do-rag, gold fronts, and the biggest denim shorts you've ever seen. His language is so twisted within itself, he's almost incomprehensible. Almost all normal people are quite aware that this is not only very abnormal, but it's in its own right very offensive. These trans black rap Americans seem to only emulate cartoonishly exaggerated and a negative behavior. And while many of them claim that they are in fact black now, almost none of them commit to the fact. They purposely dwell in this twilight place, choosing rather to define themselves as neither black nor white but something else. Even the ones who have taken the melanated surgery while not looking at a black person like a black person from a distance, you may not notice. Despite the thousands of dollars they spent to have the surgery done, they refuse to commit fully to being black. And now we've returned from that parallel universe I've described above. Does all that sound ridiculous? Did you maybe find some of it offensive? Maybe you tell yourself it's not the same. I see what he's doing, but it's not the same. Why? What I find most interesting about the comparison of modern transgenderism with the 2000-era Wiggerdom is that they both do function very similarly. They both emulate their targeted identity with ham-fisted caricaturized stereotypes that without the trappings of forced social acceptance would be obviously offensive. Yet the major primary difference is that the Wiggers were never given this protective status. These guys simply had to want it. And for the most part they did. That odd slice of Americana lasted quite a while with no outside help or official demands for acceptance. And because it was never popularized and allowed to exist organically, it ran its course organically. A lot of people phase out of it. About once a week I see a white guy with a do-rag who sags his pants, because arguably 15 years later that's just who that guy is. The point being that the Wiggers did not go away, they weren't genocided out, they weren't erased. They had to do what every group had to do. Either commit to who you are or realize it's simply easier and more straightforward to be normal in the general sense. I know there's, okay, but there you go. I think that was an interesting thread that I read earlier, and what you said about that, Tim, that made me think of that. Do you?
Uh, I don't even know where to begin as far as like I know it's, what would you call it, satire, parody, or whatever. You know.
Well, I think it's an interesting point, not just about transgenderism, because I mean obviously there are legitimately people who are out there who believe that they.
I think I could come up with a better one though, because like when because I went to school with a bunch of Wiggers, and they weren't doing it because they thought they were black. They were doing it because they liked the culture of like P. Diddy better than they liked the culture of like Garth Brooks and stuff, which is what everybody else is. And you know, like there are people. What's that guy's name?
Mm-hmm.
Sean King, that's his name? Yeah, Sean King, the white dude that tried to pass as the black dude for
Talcum
quite a while. There
X.
are those dudes that are, yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm just saying, like, I guess I'm having a hard time looking past the the wigger part of it because it's like I'm trying
That
to. I think I covered for
I
both
guess
of them.
I guess the point I'm making is that all these people who even I mean yeah there were people who that thought it was just cool, but there's also people who didn't have any identity of their own, and I see
Well,
a
that,
lot of people searching for
uh,
identities.
don't you think that's a lot of like most of the like really odd stuff that we can't, we can't quite put our finger while some people are doing
Mm-hmm.
some things like. I know I refer to the Ferdum a lot, but
You
like you'll
always take
see,
it back there.
well, dude, but here's why. Here's why, and
No, I
you're
think it
going to
makes
see
sense, but I just have to laugh.
it makes total sense. And dude, the furries are the back door to the future. And if you think, I think this is what people don't get about furries are here to stay. Like I remember one point in time, like people would look at gay people like they were taboo, and now in 2022, you see gay people, and it doesn't even cross
Right.
your mind that there's a gay couple. It's just literally at this point, it's just people. And you go to other cities outside of like Elizabeth, and there's like kids wearing like big what you call it, like dead mouse like style heads, and people just wearing their fursuits out all the time. The furries are here to stay,
Right.
as I'm saying. And I think even though the furry thing was based out of like perversion of early internet culture and that and like a lot of people don't know that like if we can use the wigger thing, a lot of the early blacks didn't know, or blacks, the wiggers probably didn't know that the sagging thing was prison culture, right? Well, a lot of these kids that are getting involved with like wanting to wear a Pikachu head to school and stuff, they have no idea that at age 9 when they decide to be a furry, that most of those people are wearing those Pikachu head because they really want to fuck Pikachu.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these cultures aren't necessarily, they're born a lot of times out of other things than what the now adoptive people really represent them as. And I always defer to the Ferdum because I'm telling you, dude, that number's going to skyrocket pretty soon because they're here to stay. That's why.
I told you I did some work for a I won't even say who it was or what their occupation was, but let's just say it's something that you have to go to school for a long time to do. And I was working in their office,
Yeah.
and they had piles of these damn furry suits upstairs, all kinds of crazy stuff, like weird looking furry animals. And
it goes back to what you were saying, that a lot of people just simply don't have
guy
anything
had
to
a bunch of
latch on
guns
to. They
and
don't have an
guitars
identity.
too, so I was torn. Like, hey, this is pretty cool. Now this is
That's
weird.
not his identity. Like, would you say that guns are your identity or guitars are your identity? And it's the same way that there's something missing from people, and they connect with that. And I don't. It's I don't want to condemn like like a gardening analogy. Like if you plant seeds in really bad soil, and you can't blame that plant for growing that way. And if you plant a human being in a scenario where he's going to be around people dressing up like bronies and stuff, and he adopts that, I don't want to judge people for how they how they become. I'm getting concerned about what we're labeling as normal.
Give Maria a rundown of what the Ferdum is. Give Maria a rundown of what the Ferdum is.
Oh God, real short. Ferdum refers to the entirety of people that are involved. Yeah, Ferdum is the entirety of people involved in furry culture, and a lot of people look at this entire furry thing with like it's a freak show, and they don't realize just how big it really is. And they're here to stay, and there's going to be a lot more of them. And if we're going to accept gay people, man, you got to accept them furs too. They're just wearing a suit. I know it can be weird when they're wearing like a diaper and they're doing what's called crinkling. Oh, have you heard of that? It's where they don't want to take off their suits. So they just wear a diaper throughout the day, and they just poop and pee themselves like a baby. And when they get home, they take the diaper off. I'm not saying there's not some degenerate behavior in it, because I'll go back to original point. Like somebody said in the chat earlier, they thought their entire generation, I think you said that a lot of people are walking around mentally ill today, man. I think 100% of us are.
Spill the tea says, I want to see that face. Sorry. Hey, let's go back for just a second, because I wanted to catch up on some of the chat here. Maria says, it drives me crazy. They're screwing with children's minds. Spill the tea says, same with I'm a boy or a girl. Dalton says, the amount of young people on pills nowadays is unacceptable, for lack of a better word. Yeah. I mean, it's like, even with, not just with pharmaceuticals for mental health issues, but just pharmaceuticals in general, when you have a symptom of a health problem, that's like your check engine light on your car. So if you have heartburn, like you shouldn't just take a medication to make your heartburn go away. There's something else causing that heartburn, whether it's what you're eating or something else that's going on. Or if you have, irritable bowel syndrome or whatever that is, that's most likely something in your lifestyle or in your body that is causing that. And your body is giving you a check engine light. Hey, we need to fix this. But if you just take a pill to make the symptoms go away, you're not getting rid of the problem. You're just covering it up. And the same goes with things like mental illness. I mean, therapy can be, I don't want to say it always is, but it can be far more useful than using, you have to have a skilled therapist than using medication. Medication can be used to supplement therapy, but when they throw a lot of these kids on these drugs and just watch them and see what happens, that's when we get really, really big trouble. Spill the Tea says last few years have been wonky, maybe different timeline, maybe changing frequency, approaching the central sun. I don't know. Yes, they are spiritual. It's spiritual war, my friend. Dalton says I was put on pills years ago when I was 18 for pains and they messed me up. Glad I'm off that sort of thing now. And Spill the Tea says Big Pharma makes lots of money. That's what the Gulf War was, taking over the poppy fields there. Yeah, the secondary, the Afghanistan, I mean, almost immediately the U.S. went over there and secured those poppy fields. And I heard the Taliban, one of the things that they did when they took back Afghanistan, when the U.S. pulled out, is that they burned those poppy fields. Let's see.
Well, that explains why we're not allowed to have our pills anymore, huh? Maybe there is no. Maybe they're not trying to correct the pill epidemic. Maybe they don't have the pills to give out now.
Well, I did hear that doctors now are, what was it that they loosened the regulations on pain pills to make it not so hard for doctors to give pain pills to people that need them because they went too far on that, and people were afraid to prescribe them.
You think about like with the case of what happened with these pain pills was they were too loosey goosey, and then now they had to rein them back in. You know how loosey goosey they are with these psych meds.
When are they going to rein them back in?
We might be looking at that's what I'm saying. If they decide to rein them back in, you're going to have a very it's going to be it's not going to be good because like you can't. It's one of those drugs that you have to taper people on, all of them, and even then sometimes tapering is real tricky because you're readjusting all these receptors.
A lot of those drugs brain, you can die if you come off them too fast. Even benzos, they're very dangerous to come off too fast.
You can have a seizure and die coming off benzos. And what's going to happen? Well, they did crack down on the benzos. I'm just saying, what's going to happen when they start cracking down on some of the other ones? Not even because they think people are addicted, just because they discover they have like some really bad effects. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe it makes you shoot up schools or something, And all of a sudden they want to start backing people off these drugs. And what's going to be the effect of backing people off of drugs they've been on 15 years because they might shoot people. Just down back in I think it's 1972 from 1972 to 1976, somewhere in there, they did what was called deinstitutionalization, where they pulled all the government fundings from these mass asylums, and they just dumped hundreds of thousands of literally crazy people into the streets. So the government does some really stupid stuff. I don't think we're immune to them doing some catastrophic things like, suddenly making SSRIs illegal, and all of a sudden our schizophrenic people are really in a bad shape, Just top off.
I used to work in that field with all the folks that they let out of those hospitals in another lifetime. And I remember when I was at college, I was in clinicals for occupational therapy, and I was working with an orthopedic surgeon, and I was doing my clinical work in his office, and we got froze up. Hopefully that'll straighten out. I don't really know what to do other than hope the live or that the replay works. Hey, everybody jump out of the video and jump back in, and hopefully it'll work for you. That's what happened last time. Usually when we start getting into some controversial shit, that's what they do. Make it...
Well, I don't know. If school shooters didn't get us shut down, maybe SSRIs do.
Well, I'll jump back in and it's working
I left and came back. And my screen's a little bit fuzzy.
I left and came back and mine's working fine now. Now I'm buffering again. They don't like our conversation, Spill the Tea says. Well, hopefully we have it for posterity after we get done here, and we can upload, or the video will still upload perfectly, like it usually does. But yeah, they don't like it apparently. Yeah, it's going a little crazy. I've got everything's good on my end, so I got everything in the green over here. I guess we'll try to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight if we're having these kind of problems. But yeah, I'll finish up by telling you about this doctor I had that I was in, this orthopedic surgeon. A man came in. He had cut halfway through his leg with a chainsaw, and he'd sawed through his knee. And he had done this about 2 weeks previously, and he had surgery and had everything stitched up, and then 2 weeks later he comes back in, and has to use a walker, and tells the doctor that he's still in horrible pain, and the doctor says, well, you can take some Tylenol. And after he leaves, he's like, this guy just wants drugs. Like, yeah, I would want drugs too if I cut my damn leg in half with a chainsaw. But that mentality was spread throughout the world of doctors. You had your doctors who were giving them out like candy, and then you had your doctors who wouldn't give them out under any circumstances, no matter how bad anybody needed them. And then it led to overprescribing, and then, like you said, Tim, when they pulled it back in, and now it's trying to correct itself. But I hope we don't have a similar situation like you said with the SSRIs and stuff like that. Oh, here comes the Redenbacher.
I've got a friend, because people think maybe it's just about, they don't want people, who are complaining about back pain and stuff. Dude, I've got a friend, I hope he don't mind me using, I won't say his name. No kid, he has like 2 kidney stones like a week. Like he has some kind of a crazy disorder where his body just produces stones. And several times a year, he has to go to the doctor, and they have to take a laser and blow these crystals up so he can pee them out, because he just makes these giant stones. And they even cut him back. Like, he was having to argue with them. He was like, you don't understand. I'm not here for like, he was like, I pee kidney stones every day, and you're trying to cut back my medication. And it's so heavy. That's what I'm talking about. The overcorrection is what I'm talking about, where that guy needs a lot of shit. You should give him more, probably, because that sucks. But what they're going to do is there's people that really do need all this stuff that are on these medications, and I'm worried they're going to see how overcorrected they've done by just giving these SSRIs and benzos like candy. What happens when they finally pull the reins, and all of a sudden you pull them from people who really do need them and are benefiting from them? That's the kind of thing I think about.
It's important things to consider. And I hope some of the people who are making the decisions are considering them. I hope we're not the only ones. I know we're not, but I hope some people who actually matter are thinking about it. But I think that's a good spot to end. We've been we're about 1:10 now, so that's about as long as I want to go tonight. I want to thank y'all for joining us. Oh, wait a minute. Dalton says I cut 2 of my fingertips off in an act of raw stupidity and being a young man, and it was hard to get painkillers. And Tim, I couldn't hear you.
Appreciate the chat coming back after the buffer ended. We got people back, so
yeah, we appreciate it. And I'm gonna go ahead and end it for tonight. Y'all got back in time to see Orville Redenbacher. Hey, share this video around if you know anybody that might be interested in the kind of conversations we're having. We'd love to have them in the chat too. And I'm going to get this thing set up to where we can take calls if any of y'all would like to call in. I mean,
hey, stickers you got?
How many do I have? I got 100 right here. Maybe I can get more whenever.
Well, I'm saying, like, if we can get like stickers sold, I know we've only got a couple people watching, but if we can get the stickers sold, we can do shirts. So if that motivates anybody to to get it going,
you help us fund shirts, and then we can turn that into more equipment and more platforms. And if you can bring other people in to watch us, that really helps too.
Yeah, we don't ask for handouts. If we want to improve the show, we'll give you something in return.
And that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to give you something of value here. We want to give you a place to hang out and talk about some of these issues that a lot of people aren't talking about, or at least talk about them in a way that other people aren't discussing them. So we thank you for joining us, and we appreciate y'all. Spill the tea, Dalton, Maria. Thank you for joining us. Vacant Josh, you're out there. We really appreciate you getting in the chat with us. That's the best part of the show, is having your reactions and hearing what you think about these things in real time. And like I said, we'll be pulling calls in here too. I think we can do those on the Sunday shows. You'll have to learn to have to use Skype. So if you guys want to call in, you can use Skype. We don't have to show your face on there. I can just put your voice on if you want to do that, or if you just want to keep chatting, that's great too. Either way, we want your input. We want to hear what you think about these topics. Like I said earlier, what's that?
Oh, if you do the Skype